So today we are wrapping up our rational numbers unit. All right, bringing it home with dividing rational numbers. So it starts off very similar to multiplying rational numbers. We cannot get our rules confused, okay? So with addition and subtraction, we have same sign, add and keep, okay? So we have that song for the addition and subtraction. We're going to be singing it a lot over the next couple of days as we start to review for your test. But with multiplication and division, we have something that we call the even-odd rule, where you will count how many negatives are in the expression. If there's an even number of negatives, that gives you a positive answer. If there are an odd number of negatives, that gives you a negative answer. All right, does that look familiar to what you learned with multiplication? All right, it's the exact same rules, except today you're dividing, okay? So the questions or your thought process is still the same, all right? The division, look at the division, guys. Does that division look difficult, the actual division? Okay, you better say no, right? Okay, so I'm not testing you, and I've said this the entire unit. I'm not necessarily testing you on, do you know your division tables? You need to get the sign of your answer correct. This is so important as we start solving equations in chapter 4. Okay? So, and that's coming sooner rather than later. All right, so let's just do the division first. What's 18 divided by 6? 3. And then, will my answer be positive or negative 3? Why is it positive 3? Because there are 2 negatives and 2 is an even number. Okay? 2 negatives, even number of negatives is a positive answer. All right, I want you to try the other 3. I'm going to give you guys just about a minute to see if you can get the other 3. Remember, the sign is everything. So on your quiz or your test, if you get your sign wrong, I cannot give you credit. Okay? Because that's what we're testing over in this unit. All right, 14 divided by 2, guys. 7. There's no negative, so there's no possibility that that's even a negative answer. Negative 32 divided by negative 4. Is it 8 or negative 8? It is 8. Why? 2 negatives, even number. All right. What about negative 40 divided by negative 8? Positive 5. All right. Do you need to write the plus sign in front of the 5 to show that it's positive?
No.
Absolutely not. Okay. All right. So now let's do some more. Let me just give you guys a minute to see if you can work through these problems. Just get one step ahead of me, and then I will explain them. Okay. So when I see 75 divided by 25, do you guys think of those in terms of like quarters?
Yeah,
okay. So remember quarters, right? 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents, and then $1. So that's the easiest way to think about the 75 divided by 25. So would it be positive 3 or negative 3? It would be negative 3, all right? Because how many negatives do I see in the expression? 1. Very good. All right, Julia, what'd you get for negative 54 divided by 6? Negative 9. Do you agree with her?
Yes.
All right, looking good. Well, yeah, don't say no. You say yes. That is correct. 1 negative is a negative answer. All right, Lucas, what did you get for 0 divided by negative 6?
0.
It is 0. All right, so don't be thrown off by that because, you know, there still is 1 negative. Anything divided by 0 is 0. All right, Mariana, what do you think about the last one? All right, do you agree with her? Did she get her sign right in her answer? Why? Because there's only 1 negative and 1 is odd. All right, great job on that. Okay, so now we're going to divide rational numbers. This will involve a little bit of long division for your decimals. Okay, we're not going to go crazy with it. You're not going to have like super difficult long division, but you will have to do some long division for your decimals on your quiz and your test. Okay, so does the first number go inside the division or outside? The first number in the division. Does it go inside your symbol or outside? It goes inside, okay? So when I'm doing this work, all right, I'm going to say, and don't worry about the signs until your answer. Just divide the absolute values. 8.4 divided by 3.6, okay? 8.4 divided by 3.6. But we know that we cannot have a decimal where? We can't have the decimal in our divisor, right? So what do I do to get rid of that decimal? What do I do?
Move it.
You just move it. And essentially what you're doing is you're multiplying it by 10 when that happens. So when you bump your decimal out one place, you must do the same thing on the dividend or the inside number, okay? So we can just simply erase the decimal. Does everybody see how we got rid of our decimal? Everybody see? Okay? Now we have to ask ourselves, how many times would 36 go into 84? All right, now the easiest way to do this would be to round these numbers to their leading digits, okay? So that would be 40 going into 84. You would do this, or I'm sorry, into 80. You would do this mental math, okay? But 40 would go into 80 approximately how many times? 2. So I can assume that 36 would go into 84 probably close to 2 times, okay? So now we do our multiplication. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. All right, now what do? Subtract. All right, we have a remainder of 12, so we need to add a decimal and a 0 and bring down a 0. Okay, now how many times do we think 36 would go into 120? I would guess about 3, because again, I don't know. If you round 36 up to 40, 40 goes into 123 times, right? So, and 36 isn't 40, so I think it's actually going to be 2 again. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, so let's try 3. So 18. And then 10, yep, 108. Yeah, we have plenty of room there. All right, and now I got 12 left over again. Uh-oh. So as soon as I see a remainder repeat, okay, I know that I am now on an endless loop, okay? Because again, now I'm just going to add a 0 and bring it down, and then it's going to go into 3 again, and then guess what? What's 36 times 3 again? 108 again, and now you're on the endless loop. So what would be your answer? 2.3 repeating. Now you only have to write the repeating digit one time in your answer. Okay, 2.3 repeating. Okay, all right, so you will have some of that. You say, oh, that's just annoying, like I hate doing the long division. You won't have to do it much, but when you do the decimals, you do. Now, how did I know my answer was positive? How did I know? Macy? There's 2 negatives. Very good. Now, dividing fractions. Dividing fractions. Does anybody remember my rule? All of a sudden, I'm craving some crispy chicken. Julia?
KC.
Oh, close. KFC. KFC. Yeah. Keep, change, flip. Keep, flip, change. Same thing. Okay? So did you get my joke? Crispy chicken? Okay. All right. So keep, flip, change. Or you can change and then flip. We keep the first fraction. Okay? We flip the second fraction. Make sure you keep that negative if it was negative. And we change the operation to multiplication. Okay? Keep, flip, change. Now we look to see if we can cross-reduce anything. Can anything be cross-reduced? Yes, Kaylee. 4 and 6. What can it be reduced by? Yep. So 6 would become a 3 and the 4 would become a 2. This is very helpful, especially because you don't have a calculator on this section. All right, so now we can multiply across, just like we multiplied our fractions in the last section. 3 times negative 3. What's 3 times negative 3, guys? Negative 9. All right, and then what's 5 times 2? 10. So my answer is negative 9 over 10. Negative 9 over 10. All right, how are we doing? Okay, Samantha, please pay attention. Okay, all right. So now I'm going to leave you to this for about 5 minutes. I want you to go ahead and do this division of the decimal and the fraction. So just more practice. I'm going to walk around and kind of check on you guys. So we're going to pause here for just a minute. All right. Okay, so we're going to divide 4.8 divided by 0.16. All right, so how many decimal places do I need to move my divisor? 2. Okay, so what does that mean about my dividend? You have to add a 0. So that's 480. So that could definitely be an area where a mistake is made. Okay, you had to move it 2 decimal places. All right, so now we can kind of clean that up. All right, and 16 does not go into 4, but how many times would 16 go into 48? 3. Okay, and then obviously 3 times 16 is 48, which brings down my 0, and then I just have a 0 placeholder up here. Okay, so my answer is 30. How many of you guys got 30? Anybody get 30? All right, so if you made a mistake, you might have forgotten to add that 0 after the 48 because you had to move it 2 decimal places. All right, next one, we had 9/5. Did you guys keep flip change? 9/5 times negative 10 over 3. All right, was there anything that you could cross reduce? There's a lot, right? Okay. Yeah, we got to flip it and multiply. Reese, was there something that you cross reduced?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, 3 and the 9. And what did you reduce it by?
3.
Very good. So did you get 3 and 1? Okay, very good. All right, what about 5 and negative 10? Can I cross reduce those? Now, here's what you must be very careful about. 10 is negative. So when you reduce it, did you keep it negative 2? Okay, so that's very important. If you forget the negative, you will get the sign of your answer wrong, unless you happen to go back and look at the original. Okay, all right, so what is 3 times negative 2? Negative 6 over 1, or you could just say negative 6. Okay, because we know that over 1 is the same thing as just, it's understood. Okay, all right, how'd you guys do on that? Anybody get negative 6? Anybody get negative 6? If you didn't get negative 6, do you see what you got wrong? Do you see what you missed? All right, because this is just practice, right? This is where it's safe to make mistakes. What we don't want is, we don't want to keep making the mistakes and then get it wrong on the test. All right, so now we're going to see something different start to happen here. Okay, we're going to see a lot of the concepts that we've been learning start to be pulled together. For example, you see the addition, you see exponents, you see division, you see variables that have values up here that need to be substituted. There's a lot going on here, right? Okay, so the first thing we will do is we will substitute the value for the variable. All right, this is something that you've probably learned before, to plug in a value for a variable. All right, so 8 is my value for x, so I will plug in 8 where x goes in the expression. Over, what operation do I know is here between the number and the variable? This is very important. This is multiplication. So this does not mean 2 minus 4. Okay, that's very important. Because 2y means multiplication, this is 2 times negative 4. Okay? So now, before I can divide, I must simplify everything in my numerator and denominator. Is there something I could simplify in my denominator? Yes. What is 2 times negative 4? Negative 8. So 8 divided by negative 8. All right, what is 8 divided by negative 8? Reduce it. Any number divided by itself is 1. And it would be negative 1. Negative 1. All right, now number 2 is a little tricky. Okay? Do you guys remember? Because I've only told you this one time. Okay? So it might be something we now need to hear again. Okay, so 8 gets plugged in here, but what's out in front of it? A negative, and it's not in parentheses. Okay, so when I plug it in, this means negative 8 squared plus 12 divided by negative 4. And the reason I put negative 4 in parentheses is because it separates a double sign, dividing by a negative. Okay, so negative 8 squared, guys, it's not in parentheses, so that means that I do 8 squared to make 64. 8 times 8 is 64, and it will be negative. It will be negative. All right, so now I'm going to do this division next. I don't add next. I have to follow my order of operations. So what is 12 divided by negative 4? Negative 3. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my addition and subtraction rules. Okay, can we sing the song together? Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Take the sign of the larger number, then you'll be exact. So is it same sign or different? Same. They're both negative. Say that's a subtraction sign in front of 3. It is. And subtraction means negative. So they're both negative. Your answer is negative 67. Okay. All right. I want you to try number 3 on your own. All right. So x squared would be 8 squared divided by negative 4 plus 4. All right, so what do you guys think I need to do first? Exponent, 64 divided by negative 4. Now, that might be something that you need to do off to the side, okay? So sometimes these numbers do get a little bit bigger. Or you could kind of mentally divide. 4 goes into 6 once with 2 left over. All right, did anybody get that division? 64 divided by 4. Just tell me. Okay, 16, and then because, well, I don't want an equal sign there. Well, yeah, I do. Okay, so equals negative 16. Did you guys get negative 16? Now bring down the plus 4. Okay, so now is this same sign or different? Different. So negative 16 plus 4 is what? Negative 12. So you see, this is where things start getting a little sketchier, okay? And this is where we don't need to slow down on example 1, probably, right? But this stuff, we start to kind of what we call get into the weeds, meaning it's a little stickier, isn't it? All right, you're like, okay, I get it, but you might be feeling like you need some more practice. All right, and that's okay. That's what the homework is for. It's a safe place for us to have more practice. That's why we're going to have so many review days. We're going to have 3 review days just to keep going over these things before you have your test. Okay? So introducing the material at first looks a little weird. Like this one. What in the world is going on here? This is what we call a complex fraction. Why? Because we have fractions on top of fractions. Have you ever seen one of those before? No. No. Okay. So what we will first do, okay, this Does everybody agree that this large bar right here, separating the fractions, means division? Does everybody agree? The first thing we do is we pull the complex fraction apart. I like to kind of use this hand motion that I'm pulling the complex fraction apart, and I am going to, well, I'm not going to do that yet because I actually have to simplify the denominator first. So we simplify everything, and then we will pull the complex fraction apart. Do I need to simplify anything in my numerator? No, I can just leave it. Negative 10 over 9. Okay? Over, now, negative 1/6 plus 1. Now, technically, I need common denominators. Now, any whole I can put, does everybody agree that 4 over 4 is the same thing as 1? 4 over 4. Yes. So I can say negative 1/6 plus 6 over 6. Does everybody agree that 6 over 6 is the same thing as 1 when I reduce it? Okay? But it's really important that you do this. You don't just try to mentally combine it here. Because again, like I told you guys before, it gets very confusing when you have positives and negatives. Okay? But once I've written it like this, isn't it easier to see what I need to do here to my numerators? Okay? All right, so again, we're just going to keep writing it. Negative 10 over 9, I'm not doing anything to my numerator, over what is negative 1 plus 6? Negative 1 plus 6. Is it same sign or different? Different. So subtract 6 minus 1. It's 5. 6 is bigger and it's positive. So this is positive 5 over 6. Does everybody see how I got 5 over 6? Okay, I thought I had a question over here. Do I have a question still, or did I answer the question? Now that everything is simplified, you will pull the complex fraction apart. What do I mean by that? This bar means a division symbol. So you will say negative 10 over 9 divided by, same thing as that big fraction bar, 5 over 6. And now it doesn't look so intimidating. Okay? So a complex fraction you can pull apart, and instead of the long fraction bar that you saw between them, you can make that a division symbol. Now we should know what to do. Keep the first fraction. What do we do to the second one? Flip the second fraction and multiply the two of them. All right, I want to see if you can get to your answer now. Go ahead and try to get to your answer now. All right, couple different ways you could do that. See if you can get to your answer. All right, so we have 5 and negative 10 reducing to 1 and negative 2. Did you guys reduce it to 1 and negative 2? 6 and 9 reduce to 2 and 3. You reduce it by 3. Did you guys reduce that? All right, so now we have negative 4 thirds. Negative 4 thirds.
I tried to reduce it.
Huh?
I tried to reduce it into a mixed number.
Okay, negative 1 1/3 is perfect. I will never mark that wrong. Big Idea should take it as well. Okay, if it doesn't, let me know. All right, okay. That was a little complicated, right? That's why they call it complex. Okay, so the writing is on the wall. This is one of the more difficult ones, but you can do it. All right, you probably see, okay, I can see how we got through each step, but we just need more practice. All right, so I'm going to clear the screen so I can look at this second one. Negative 2.5 divided by negative 3/4. What have I said that we need to do to all mixed numbers? What do I need to do to all mixed numbers? Change them to improper fractions. Step number 1. Okay, so I have, what would be negative 2.5 as an improper fraction? Tell me. Negative 5 over 2 divided by negative 3/4. Okay, so now I want to see, okay, so I've erased it on my screen, but you still have it in your notes. I want to see who can pull it out and write them side by side. Okay, so my next step, now that I see everything simplified, top and bottom, I need to now pull out or separate my complex fraction. See if you can do that on your paper before me. All right, so I'm going to write them side by side. Did you write -5/2 divided by -3/4? All right, raise your hand if you wrote that. Did you write it that way? Okay, if you did not write it that way, do you see what we did there? The top number from the fraction goes first. The bottom number from the complex fraction goes second. So I just pulled it out. Okay, so if you didn't write that, go ahead and write it down in your notes, just like you see here. Why did I put -3/4 in parentheses? Because there's a double sign. Because it's dividing by a negative, and that's just my rule. If there's a double sign like that, I put it in parentheses. Am I ready to cross reduce? No. What do I need to do now? 3 letters?
KFC.
KFC. Go ahead and do your KFC and come up with your answer. I'm going to walk around and check on you guys. Okay, so keep flip change. Okay, so -5/2 times -4/3. All right, is there anything to cross reduce?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I can reduce my 2 and my -4, right? Did you keep -4, -2? That's really important. So what is -5 times -2? +10/3. Did you guys get positive? Okay, so we got to practice those rules. Or you could have said 3 1/3 if you wanted to change it to a mixed number. All right, so we're going to end part 1 here. We still have 2 examples left tomorrow. It should take me maybe 10 to 15 minutes to go over those. Then we will do some review. Okay, but for now, I want to go ahead and start our Big Ideas homework in the last 10 minutes of class. Okay, they do. So we're going to start the Big Ideas homework. Guys, the only thing in Big Ideas you're not going to be able to do is maybe a word problem. You still might be able to figure it out. And the mean or the average, okay? We still need to learn that tomorrow. But we're going to go ahead and take the last few minutes of class to start our Big Ideas homework, all right? But we will push that off until Thursday, like I just said, of being due.